Welcome, everybody.
Hey, good evening.
Welcome to Altar of the Brew.
We're here tonight. We're rebuilding, kind of redesigning. Not redesigning. What's the word?
Tuning up,
Tuning up. Yeah, we're gonna tune up my old Shirei Shizo's Caretaker deck. This is a really neat commander. This is a 4 and a black for a 2/2 spirit, which is really awful rate. But it's got a really cool ability. It says whenever a creature with power 1 or less is put in your graveyard from the battlefield, you may return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step if Shirei is still in the battlefield. Which is a lot of words to say. When your creatures with power 1 or less die, return them on the end step if Shirei didn't do anything. So we have started inputting some of the old cards that I remember from the deck. We're going to start putting some new stuff in. Alrighty. How are we looking?
We're up.
We're up. Alright.
We got chat up.
Let's go over some of the cards quick here. Or I think we'll just start.
Yeah. Let's. So why don't you explain like what the basic strategy, like what's the play pattern of the deck?
So the play pattern of the deck is to build a Shirei Sacrifice engine. So the way it works is that Shirei will return all of the 1 and 0 power creatures back to the battlefield at the beginning of each end step, which is key because you get to do it on your turn and every single one of your opponent's turns. It's like taking 4 turns per cycle.
Yeah.
It's basically keeping Shirei on the battlefield with any sack outlet, whether it be creature or an artifact. Each turn you basically sack them for value and return them for value. A lot of them have death triggers, a lot of them have enter the battlefield triggers, and then there's some support cards that give you benefits for things dying or entering the battlefield, or even leaving your graveyard. So there's a lot of really neat synergies with that. The hard part with the deck is protecting Shirei and getting it out there quick enough. Starting with getting it out there quick enough, a lot of mana rocks. I like all the 2 mana ones that enter untapped. I don't care if they make colors or not. Shirei is a monocolor commander, makes it very easy. The mana base is predominantly swamps, but there's a lot of cool ones you can play in a black deck that cares about sacrificing stuff. Some of the notables here, though, Springleaf Drum is really good in this deck because you have a lot of 1 and 2 mana creatures, so you'll be able to turn it on a lot. And then just some other artifacts that were here. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots for protection. Skull Clamp to just help you sacrifice your creatures and draw more cards. This deck draws cards.
Yes, it does.
This deck makes tons of tokens. This deck kills your opponents very quickly once your engine is rolling. It also can hurt you very quickly if you're not careful. There's some really times you can get blown out too.
Yes.
So the key about protecting Shirei is if you go and sack your entire board of creatures and somebody kills Shirei, you don't get them back. So there's always using the player's skill of, do I sacrifice enough things to warrant a removal spell? Do I hold up my protection for it? Which I want to talk about some new protection spells because it didn't used to have them in it. But I think we can use some now. Unfortunately, with Shirei's templating, you can't use like a if it dies, return it to the battlefield card because then the triggers all fizzle.
Because it's a new game object?
It's a new game object, and it says specifically it has to remain on the field until the end step. It's actually what the templating says, if it didn't leave the battlefield. The neat thing is because each one is a separate trigger, there's some really cool like baller enchantment and artifact you can play in this deck. I'd like to start there, I think.
Okay. You also, like, this is a definite deck that rewards sequencing.
Oh yeah.
Really well. Like I think that this would be a harder deck to hand somebody else who isn't really familiar with stacking like death triggers and stuff, responding to triggers, like some of the sacrifice a creature, add a counter creatures, like the Blood Flow Connoisseur and the Blood Throne Vampire and the Carrion Feeders. Like they're all 1/1s. You sack something to them, they get a counter, then they don't come back with Shirei. But all you do is respond to that trigger and keep sacking things.
Yeah. It's one of those very complicated situations where you basically put all those sack triggers on the stack, and instead of resolving the pluses, you just sack the creature in response.
Right.
And you don't always have to do that. Maybe you want an 8/8 or a 10/10 out there. That's why these creatures are useful in there. Now, Carrion Feeder can't block, so it's often just sacrificed with the squad. But Bloodthrow Vampire, don't let it fool you, man. Sometimes you get 20, 30 tokens, you dump into that thing, and nobody blocks it, and then they're dead. It's just crazy fast kills. There are some pretty old cards in here from when I first built the deck, like Big Game Hunter. It's a neat card. I really enjoy it. It can really kill a lot of big stuff. But black just has better removal now. There might be better creatures now that do this. Additionally, there's that flyer that I can never remember the name of. Oh, there it is. Bone Shredder. Great old card. It got reprinted in Modern Horizons, it looks like. But just a 3-mana 1/1 flyer. It's got Echo, so it automatically sacks itself, which is great. Echo is cool in this deck, as well as like anything that sacks itself naturally, as opposed to requiring a sacrifice outlet.
Sure.
Something like a Fume Spitter here, where it automatically sacrifices itself, or you can manually sacrifice it to put a -1/-1 counter on a creature. The cool thing is, like, that doesn't sound very useful in Commander, right? Except when I do it every cycle, every turn cycle, that's 4 -1/-1 counters I've distributed every cycle, and I can continue to sacrifice it over and over again, provided that Shirei sticks in the field. Now, with that, I think keeping Shirei in the field is going to be the most important part. That's probably where we should start.
Okay.
Now, I said we have Boots and we have Greaves. Do you think something like a Whisper Silk Cloak is the right card to play? It's pretty heavy in the mana investment of 3 to cast, 2 to equip.
There's also a lot of what was I looking at for new stuff that came out?
I think I used to have a Mask of Avacyn in this.
Sure, yeah, that seems reasonable. I mean, that's what, 5 mana total investment?
I believe so. Yeah, 2 and 3. It's the other way. Like, they're both 5 mana. Like Mask of Avacyn, 2 to cast, 3 to equip. Whisper Silk, 3 to equip, 3 to cast, 2 to equip. And then I had that really awesome enchantment that I can never remember the name of.
Is it Dark Privilege?
Ooh, Dark Privilege is a great card for this deck. So regeneration, totally solid. Because he doesn't leave the battlefield, Shirei. Or it doesn't leave the battle. It's a spirit. Dark Privilege enchantment. My only enchantment, probably. So, 1 in a black enchant creature. Creature gets 1/1, which doesn't matter because Shirei doesn't care about its own power. But it says sacrifice a creature to regenerate the enchanted creature. So, that already works really well with Shirei. The only problem is like things like Wrath of God, Damnation, Toxic Deluge, and that's it. The only ones I can think of they say they're you can't regenerate through them that are commonly played.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't survive like minus effects like Black Sun Zenith and stuff like that.
The other one I found was Blessing of Leeches.
I had that on my list, yeah. Blessing of Leeches. Another really neat regeneration card. I actually found another one you can pay life to regen too. This one is a 2 in a black, I want to say. Yeah! Enchant creature, you can play it as an instant. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose a life. You can pay 0 to regenerate it. Enchanted creature. So this is another great way to protect Shirei from death. Granted, it doesn't stop swords, doesn't stop path. They can still Darksteel Mutation it, but it's just ways to help you keep your engine rolling.
Yeah.
Or my engine rolling. It's my deck. It's one time here. Any others that you found that you really like?
Those were the ones that jumped out at me as like.
Let's see. What is it called?
Yeah, the like you said, the undying kind of ones don't really work.
Nah, they don't work because you need them to stay on the field the whole time.
Yeah, so I think I had a couple of those, but I think those aren't as good. Obviously.
I lost the name of it. Oh, so this is the one that I played the most in the deck before, which was Gift of Doom.
Sure. There's a couple of them like that, right?
Yeah. The reason I like this one, it is a 5-mana enchantment. Aura that gives the creature death touch and indestructible. The neat thing is you can morph it for 3 colorless and then just sack another creature to unmorph it and equip it, unmorph it and attach it to a creature. The neat thing about morph is it's a special mechanic that doesn't use the stack. The ability does, but morph doesn't. So you can do it in response to stuff, which is really cool. It's a fine card. Indestructible, not always the best, but just about as good as Regeneration in my opinion.
Sure.
The Hexproof I think is the strongest, but definitely Indestructible is very, very good. What is the name of that card? I have lost the name of the card.
Are you looking for more black indestructible things?
No, I believe it was a 2 in a black aura that says you can pay life to regen, like pay a life to regen or something like that.
It's not the crown one, is it?
Crown of Oblivion? No, it was a different card. Let me describe.
What's about the fallen? There's one with the word fallen in it. It's a guy wearing a funny like crown with like spikes on it.
That's Oblivion Crown, I think.
I think there's 2 of them.
All right, we'll have to check them out here, but Regenerate.
Fallen one?
And then type lane. This is going to be an enchantment. Can we do a subtype?
Fallen Fallen Idol.
Fallen Idol. Ideal. Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
No. Does it bring it back?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about the tough part of Shirei. Let's see. There's a lot of regeneration in black. Here it is. Soul channeling. 2 in a black enchant creature. Pay 2 life to regenerate enchanted creature.
Sure.
So that is another one that could likely play in the deck. Again, I don't know how many of this effect that I'm really going to want. Usually you get 1. You're usually good for most of a game, or you'll need 2 in a game at most. Cause
I got one for you.
Sure. Shoot.
Armor of Shadows.
Don't even know the name of this card. 9 cents. I love it already.
It's an instant.
Ooh. Oh yeah, I just looked this card up. There's a couple of these. So for 1 mana instant, it gets 1/0 and indestructible, which is fantastic because it's basically black counterspell at that point against most destruction spells.
There's a 2 mana one called Battle Rage Blessing. Battle Rage is hyphenated.
Yeah, quiet chat tonight, huh? Oh, got a big one all of a sudden.
Oh, we got a bot.
We got a bot, and now we got a bot. Target creature gains death touch and indestructible until the turn. Yeah, I mean that definitely does the trick.
Yeah.
Let's see, what was I looking at? I was looking at
Gift of Doom. That's the other one.
I'm looking at the wrong section here. Professor's Warning was the other one I was looking at. There's a new card that I hadn't actually seen yet, or hadn't played in this deck yet. Ooh, 5 cents.
That's the Strixhaven one?
Yeah, Strixhaven. You can choose one, put a 1/1 counter on a creature, or give a creature indestructible until its turn, which is pretty cool.
I got 2 more you can choose from. How about Oblivion's Hunger?
Oblivion's Hunger. Oh, I put Oblivion wrong, that's why. Oblivio's Hunger. 4 cents, even better.
So 2 mana instant, indestructible, draw a card if it has a +1/+1 counter.
Alrighty, yeah.
Here's another one. Offer Immortality.
Don't want to go too heavy on these kind of cards.
Right.
Probably
so
end up cutting most of these.
pick the best ones.
Yeah. I like the 1 mana ones for obvious reasons. So let's see. This one gives it indestructible. This one gives it indestructible, 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 indestructible. So these are
And
basically.
Death Touch.
So these two were basically identical.
Can
Battle Rage
draw a
Blessing,
card.
and this one draws a card. So I would say, just for the sake of argument, I'd probably shift these over just to consider for now. The 2 that are
Offer Immortality.
the lesser of the same effect.
Sure.
But this one has the ability to draw cards. Like if we find a way to put a 1/1 counter on, it
Sure.
might be reasonable to keep that.
C is fine.
So it's quite a bit of protection here. I don't think I want all of these enchantments.
Do we have a creature that? Oh, this would be probably a little bit too much. Not necessarily. How about Daring Fiend Bonder?
So I tried it in the deck before,
Yeah.
and I didn't like it.
Okay. Daring Fiend Bonder is the one that
the
like
mana cost
enters
is
and
so high. But let me show everybody what it is. Very, very good. I think it's a commander card, if I remember correctly. But I believe it's 3 in a black, and then it has haste to 5/1, and it attacks each combat if able. 1 in a black, exile it from your graveyard, and you put an indestructible counter on a creature. The problem that I had with it is it's 6 mana to give a creature indestructible,
I
and then you
understand.
get Swords or Pathed, and then it's just you spend a lot of investment time, and it just didn't work out for me.
Yeah, I get it.
Just to go through, let's see. I mean, we have quite a bit of protection in here now, way more than I used to have.
Okay.
I think I'll probably cut.
The Leeches one, maybe? Because you lose life every turn?
I mean, this deck gains quite a bit of life. This one you pay life to regen. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think it'll be? Which one looks cooler? They're about the same to me. You got to go with the Rebecca Gayard here, right?
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, that one you can play as an instant, so I guess there's that upside.
That's true. That's true. It just kind of does more than this. And this. Yeah, I don't know. Let's pull out the Soul Changeling for now, and if we might end up pulling the Blessing Leeches as it is anyway, but
Okay.
because the key with this is you want to have a high concentration of dinky, crappy creatures.
And boy, did they give you a bunch more.
They just gave me a bunch more. So, as far as sacrifice outlets go, I think that I don't know if they gave me any new ones, but Bloodflow Connoisseur, Bloodthrone Vampire, Carrion Feeder, Viscera Seer. I also like to play this Soldevi Adnate. I'm not sure if this card's any good anymore. It was kind of slow in my version, but you tap it. It's a 2-mana 1/2 cleric something or other. Who knows? Tap, sack a black or artifact creature to add black mana equal to its casting cost to your mana pool. The fact that it's an activated ability kind of stinks, but you can get some pretty decent mana out of it fairly reasonably.
Yeah, sure.
Usually taps for 2 or 3 or something.
All right, you want to go over like your already in there sack fodder? Like what's the?
Well, I figure we finish the sack outlets first.
Oh, okay.
We just added this Dark Privilege, which is awesome. Deck never had that before. This card's perfect for it.
23 cents, baby.
Yeah, I love it. I still think. Part of the reason that I like playing this deck is because the altar wins that you get with it. I will explain that towards the finishing of the game. But I did run a Phyrexian altar way back in the day. Hey, it's getting cheap now.
I know. Wonderful.
So, Ashnods. I like this one. Make a black border though. Just posterity. We'll use the new one. It's nice looking.
And it's cheap.
Yeah. And then the other one go. Oh, there it is. Phyrexian altar. Nice. So.
Toggle laser
Watch
eyes?
this.
What does that mean?
Pew. Pew. I don't know what it is. I saw it the other day. Super weird. So, can you think of any other sack outlets that would fit this build? Because right now I'm looking at, and this is just actual sack outlets. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 creatures, right? One that taps, and then I have 2 rocks and an enchantment. That's pretty good. Or two artifacts.
Because then you go to what, the 3 mana ones, the other 3 mana ones, like Woe Strider.
Well, the problem with that is it doesn't fit the 1/1 or less.
And Yeheni.
Yeah, same with that. I don't know how I feel about the Soldavi Aidni these days.
Well, let's
because there's a better one too, right? There's like a rare priest that like you sack 2 creatures and make 2 black mana. They discard cards, you draw cards. That came out.
Priest of the
Forgotten Gods or something maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So it's just like better.
All right, so I gotta cross off stuff on my list that you've already got on there. Did you have a Sling Gang Lieutenant in your list?
I didn't, because 4 mana is a lot.
Okay. That was another sack outlet specific for goblins.
For goblins, and that was the other thing is I have so many goblin decks that I didn't feel like I needed more goblins in this deck. Well, this is Priest of Forgotten Gods. 1 black, 1/2 human cleric. Sacrifice 2 other creatures. Any number of target players each lose 2 life and sack a creature. I add 2 black and draw a card. This is better than Adnate probably, but you have to have 2 creatures instead of just 1, and you only get 2 black mana no matter what. I don't think either of these cards really wows me.
Okay.
So I don't mind moving them, but if we have a 100th spot and maybe we can use a little more mana buff, then it's probably worth playing these.
Sure, I did see a new card that might be in that realm for mana, but it's not a creature. So, do you want to stick with some new creatures that I saw?
Sure, yeah.
Start shooting some new stuff. Since it's played a role in so many formats, there is a 1 power black creature that enters and gives you the initiative.
I saw that. I don't remember the name of it. What's he got?
It's called Vicious Battle Rager, which is a badass name.
It's pretty badass.
It is a lot of mana. I don't know if it's playable because of that. It's 4 mana. But
4 is heavy. It's okay though, because like 4 is hard, but if the effect is really strong, then it's worth it. Enters the battlefield, take the initiative. So we go get a basic the first time, and then everybody wants to attack me. But we're going to basically get the initiative every time it enters, and then you venture further into the initiative dungeon. Yeah, it seems pretty good. I'll definitely leave it in there for now. I do have
whenever it has another line of text.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. Whenever it becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller loses 5 life. I can tell you that with Shirei, I almost never attack. Because you almost never need to.
But you could.
But you could with that card, yeah. So, just as another thing. Shirei is kind of like a combo deck insofar as you're just trying to assemble a specific certain cards to achieve a plan. It doesn't it has some infinite lines that we'll ultimately get to, but it's not designed to just infinite very quickly. It's a grindy deck. And with the grindy deck, like you make your opponents discard cards, you make them sack creatures, you kill all kinds of stuff, you draw all kinds of cards. It is the tried and true definition of mid-range.
Yeah, it's super engine-y.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, okay, I'm going to try and stop this. And if you can't, it's too late. Like, if you get Shirei on the board and you've got, like, 3 creatures and no one has removal for Shirei, like, that game is going to get out of control real fast.
It's likely over pretty soon, yeah.
Okay, here's some new janky stuff.
Sure.
How about Sturge? Stirge.
I feel like I've looked at this card before. Sturge.
Sacks itself ish. It's pretty bad.
1 black, 1/1 insect back, can't block. Flying. 1 and a black, pay a life, sack it, draw a card. It's okay.
Probably not good enough.
I have so many things in this deck that already enter to draw or die to draw that I don't think I need to pay to draw. If it could block, I would snap play it. Because one of the things this deck does really well is block other decks.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to want to attack, especially if we put that one that gives you the initiative. People want to attack you because of one card that I didn't put in here yet, which is the Thorn. It's the one that gives you Monarch. Thorn of the
Dusk Rose?
Black Rose, Dusk Rose? Thorn of
Black Rose.
This is a surprisingly good card for 4 mana in this deck. The fact is 1 power means Shirei will continue to get it back turn after turn. You will never lose the Monarchy if you keep the engine going, which means you draw all the cards. This thing is Death Touch, so no one wants to attack into it, which is yet another reason I like one of my pet cards here, Orzhov Enforcer. My group always laughs when I play this, but nobody ever attacks me because they know how annoying it is to lose your creature to a crappy Death Toucher that will ultimately leave behind a 1/1. The reason cards like this are very good in this engine deck is because on everybody's turn, you're going to sack it and get it back. So you'll always have that blocker, but then you're just generating 1/1 flyers in the air. Every turn cycle, you're looking at 4 new 1/1 flyers. Same with Doom Dissenter. You're getting a 2/2 zombie every single time you do that. Stuff like that is really, really potent when you start really chaining them together. So that's the real engine of this deck.
Goodbye, Bat.
Goodbye, Bat. We hardly knew you.
How about
what
this new one? Skullport Merchant.
I love Skullport Merchant. I haven't put one in, but I want to because this is one that enters and makes a treasure. It's a bit on the costly side at 3 mana, but entering and making a treasure basically means that you'll have mana open. The great thing about this one is it's got a big butt, so it's a good blocker, but also it's a 1 and a black, sack another creature or treasure and draw a card, where it's kind of its own like little card advantage in a can on its own, which is nice. Like I said, every turn cycle you're looking at this thing, and will probably get you, 2 cards. You know? That's better than the other. Well, it's almost as good as the one that I didn't put in yet. Because I hadn't finished typing up the list. But
how about
what else you got?
Corrupt Court Official?
Let's check it out.
It's 2 cents.
It's 2 cents. Corrupt Court Official enters the battlefield. Target opponent discards a card. So one of the things that I don't do with this deck is I don't target any one person.
Oh, Burglar is each.
I have lots and lots of effects in this deck that it's a personal taste in the way I prefer to be in play groups. I don't play very politically, so for me it makes more sense to just hurt everybody equally all the time.
Sure.
And with that, I love that card. There's a lot of cards like it. There's rats that do it too, that target certain players. But we'll go over the most annoying part of the deck right now that people hate this deck for and never want to play against it. And this is why I get targeted a lot and why I stopped playing it for a while. It's this guy right here, Burglar Rat. End ilk. So this one just says, when it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. It's pretty innocuous, right? Pay 2 mana, everybody discards 1. Not me, just you guys.
Yeah.
And then I have that one. And then there's, let's see what else we got here. We got Elderfang Disabled says whenever in the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. Elvish Doomsayer is when it dies, each opponent discards a card. Then you got Yarrick's Finlurker. They actually exile a card from their hand. And I think there's a new one now too, right?
Yes.
A Virus Beetle, and it's an artifact. Artifacts have a unique relevance in this deck, and then basically what you do is every time you get to loop these for a turn cycle, everyone has no cards, and you have all the cards. You're winning the game. That's just the way it works. You get 2 of these things in the field, and you do 1 turn cycle with it. You just made them discard, 2, 4, 6 cards?
Yeah. You have no cards.
Oh, and on my turn, 8 cards, because it happens every time.
Yeah.
So, like, getting a few of these things on the board, they are wildly annoying. People hate playing against them.
How do you feel about Iron Apprentice?
Iron Apprentice. Does it affect... I think this only gives counters, right? I don't think it's going to work, right?
It enters with a 1/1 counter. When it dies, you put the counter somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the only
kind of low.
The only target would be Shirei, because you don't want to put counters on your creatures. Well, you can put them on your tokens, I guess, but boy, that would be annoying to track, wouldn't it? I think that goes the way of these Lazotep Reaver.
How about, kick it out of there.
What do we got here?
I mean, you can make Shirei big.
Yeah, Shirei doesn't do anything. You just sit out. Shirei is basically a creature enchantment.
Yeah.
So it just sits out there, it does nothing. What else you got?
Novice Occultist.
Ooh, I think this is Dye's draw card?
Yeah.
They put out so many new cards for Shirei, and I just
that was part of the reason why I was looking through today, trying to figure out what we're gonna put together for Rich again.
Yeah, I did have a lot of fun playing this deck. 1 in black, 1/2. When it dies, draw a card, lose a life. As far as draw cards, by the way, for the engine here, some of the ones that were already in the deck. Let's see here. We had Clattering Augur. It can't block. It is a 1/1. It says enters, draw a card, lose a life, but then it has a cool ability that you can pay for to return it back to your hand from your graveyard. It's not nothing. It's not great, but it is what it is. And then let's see, what else did I have? I had, let's see, Thorn technically does. Oh, I didn't put any of my draw stuff in here.
What, like Morbid Opportunist?
Oh, here, Dust Legion Zealot.
Yep, that's
Morbid Opportunist.
And then,
actually, when Morbid Opportunist came out, I think is when I took this deck apart. Not because of Morbid Opportunist, but just because that's about the era that I stopped playing it.
Yeah, sure. Apart. And then what's the other one just like it?
I gotta change this artwork here. It's driving me bananas. What is this?
He's like dabbing or something.
Give me that painting. That's what I want. Now let's go back to the beginning here. Never mind. I'm not going to go that far back. This one looks good. I was going to go back to Avacyn, but we don't need to. There we go. Neat little magic Easter egg for you. A lot of people don't know this. But the painting that this artist is painting in the artwork with blood is another magic artwork by the artist.
Ah, nice. Did not know that.
I can't remember which picture it is, but I just didn't know that. Let's see.
How about Shambling Ghast?
I don't know how I feel about this card. It's good. It's alright. It's probably fine to play. When it dies, choose one. A creature gets -1/-1 in a turn, or make a treasure. So, like, I probably would make a treasure unless I'm actually killing something. The difficulty with this one is because it doesn't do a counter like Fume Spitter does. You can't stack them up on the same creature.
Yep.
It's fine. We'll leave it for now as we tend to fill the deck out. I am also I do want to play like 34 or 35 lands in this deck, so I just want to keep the idea on. We'll just add 10 more here, just so we can kind of get an idea what the numbers look like as we build it. All right, what else you got?
How about Canoptic Scarab Swarm?
I don't like this card.
No?
Nah. I know what it is. It's a fine card. I'm never exiling my own graveyard with it.
Why would you do that?
So the problem is alright, so Canoptic Scarab Swarm, it's a neat card. It's a 4 mana 1/1 flyer, which is designed specifically for this deck, I think. And it says when it enters the battlefield, you exile a player's graveyard for each artifact or land exiled. That way you make a 1/1 flying insect. artifact creature, which is cool. My difficulty with it is that on one turn cycle, you're going to bomb everybody's graveyard, and then you're just going to have a 1/1 flyer that does nothing for most of the rest of the game. And it costs 4 mana on its front face.
All right.
And so that's the difficulty of it. It's a really cool card. It'll probably generate plenty of bodies, so it's definitely worth keeping in here. It's just not one that, like, I've had cards that, like, bomb graveyards every turn, and, like, graveyards don't fill up that fast in Commander.
Right. I mean,
they can. You could really blow out the graveyard player who's not me, but it's definitely some graveyard hate, which I do like and want to have something in the deck, so it's probably good enough. But, I mean, how many artifacts and lands end up in most graveyards these days?
Yeah, I was just thinking more along the lines of how much you make people discard.
That's a good point. I didn't even consider that. See, this is why we're doing this together.
So
Totally forgot that I make them discard everything.
Right? So I was just thinking, like, well, that's a, you know, I was trying to look for some more payoffs. There are some, you know, there's definitely, you haven't put any of the payoff cards in here.
Not yet. There's a new one now, too, I think. Makes pests.
So I think, was Tormod in the original list?
Tormod was not, but Tormod is, it's 4 mana. And he's not a 1/1. So if he dies, he's just gone. And that's the bummer, but he is a really cool card. I love this as a commander even. But Tormod is the Desecrator, 3 and a black, 4/2. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, make a tapped 2/2 black zombie. Just another thing that kind of stinks that they're tapped, so they can't block for you on the turn when they're getting them back.
Sure.
However, it's still great. And I think, and I'm pretty sure on this, that each one of these, when it says whenever a creature with power 1 or less is put in your graveyard from the battlefield, it's all one trigger for each creature. So it's not at the end of your turn you return them all as one. It's each one returned separately on its own trigger. So they should technically all trigger Tormod individually. If the ruling is correct. Now I have to check that out though.
Interesting. Because didn't you play isn't the Bat one in here?
Yeah, the Bat one should be in here.
Desecrated Tomb?
Oh man, you're so good with the names. I used to be so good. What happened to me? 3 mana artifact says whenever a creature card leaves your graveyard, make a 1/1 flying bat. It is hilarious. What is this?
Yeah. Promo, M19 promo?
Guess what I don't like? I actually really like the original art on this card. It's really cool looking. Yeah. Come now. Yeah, look at that. Oh, it's so cool. They're all flying out of the tomb.
Sure.
Yeah. And then there's another payoff that makes zombies. It's 5 mana. You remember that one?
Yeah, I think I got it here. Nope, that's an instant.
It is
Open the Graves?
Open the Graves.
No, so that's the one that whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a 2/2 zombie.
Yeah, this is one of the other payoffs, though. So, basically, anything that enters the battlefield or anything that dies triggers basically the same thing on the engine. So, Open the Graves, basically every creature that dies is going to make you, every non-token that dies is going to make you a 2/2 zombie. So, in one turn, it's like you got 3 dudes that just keep coming back. So, on my turn, I'm getting 3 zombies, and then on player B, they're getting 3 zombies, player C, 3 zombies, player D, 3 zombies. So I get to untap, I have 12 new zombies in addition to my already army.
Yeah.
And whatever effects you got from those creatures dying / entering, it's a really cool engine. I love this deck. I missed this. Thanks for pulling it back for me.
Good. So want to see some other new tech?
Yeah,
How about Weatherlight Completed in this deck?
It's not a creature. Well, let's take a look at it.
I just wanted to bring up some of the new pieces to consider.
Completed with the A, right? Alright, Weatherlight Completed. 2 mana, 5/5 vehicle with flying. If it's got 4 or more Pheresis counters on it, it's a creature in addition to its other types. Whenever a creature controlled dies, put a Pheresis counter on it, then draw a card if it's got 7 or more Pheresis counters on it. If it doesn't, scry 1. It's a great card. Totally fits.
Right? You're doing the thing, you get to scry, then you get to draw, and whoops, I have a 5/5 flyer.
Yeah.
For 2 mana, I feel like it's, if it were like 4 mana, 5 mana, but 2 mana is pretty darn good.
Before we get too deep into the deck, I want to talk about some of the big win conditions for this deck. So, as many commander decks do have it for black, Torment of Hailfire, Hellfire. Torment of Hailfire is awesome. It's just so good. as I discovered when somebody else was piloting the deck once, you can combo and win very easily with it. Torment Hailfire, X black sorcery. Repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless they sack a non-land permanent or discard a card. Well, I don't know if you know this, when your deck's working, they don't have cards to discard. And they tend to lose life throughout the game because of Zulaport Cutthroats and Blood Artists and stuff like that. So their life is tend to be a lot lower. This card can easily finish off a table. And it does the same thing as Exsanguinate for the damage anyway. Exsanguinate, great card because you can use it kind of defensively just to bolster your life total. It's an X black. Each opponent loses X life, and you gain the total life that they lost. So if each person loses 10, you gain 30. It's a fine card. The reason that these cards,
finisher.
They don't seem like we would have that kind of X mana, but with the amount of tokens you generate on a few cycles, you just sack them to Ashnod's Altar or Phyrexian Altar, and you're just making huge swaths of mana, 20, 30, 50 mana, and then you just bomb everybody with Torment Hailfire, and the game just ends. So it's a really cool finisher for the deck.
Some new pieces, some old pieces.
I'm going to put in, before I forget it, for those of you who don't know me, Genesis Chamber just has to be one of my favorite Magic cards, and it works very well in this deck. It's a 2-mana artifact, so whenever a non-token enters the battlefield, a non-token creature enters the battlefield, you make a 1/1 mirror.
Yeah.
You make a lot of tokens with this deck. And then I discovered a new one. I just want to, while we're still in the payoffs.
Yeah.
It's called Blight Mound. I'd never even seen this card before, even out of a pack.
Something about dying and making pests or something like that?
Yeah. Blight Mound. 2 and a black enchantment. Attacking pests you control get 1/0 and have menace. And it says, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, make a 1/1 black and green pest with, when it dies, you gain life. So not only can you use it for 3 mana,
that's
amazing,
really
right?
great in this deck.
It's almost better than the Open the Graves, in that the creatures, when they attack, they're 2/1 menacers that when they die, I gain life. This just makes zombies.
Yeah.
But zombies are still great, so there's no arguing that they're great.
You're still missing one of the creatures that when you have tough die, you draw cards.
Probably.
It's not the Morbid Opportunist, it's the other one. Grim Horospex?
So I don't.
That in the deck, or
I
is
don't,
that the one that kills you?
I don't play it because I don't like that it can't come back. There's already a few creatures in here that can't come back, and the whole point is to make sure that Shirei can bring everything back. Because a lot of times you'll be sacking everything. You're talking you're the ones that make tokens, the ones that draw cards, the ones that make them discard, the ones that even sacrifice things, the Blood Artist, the Zulaport, you sack all those things every turn cycle if it makes sense to, because they all come back, so you just get all that extra value from them. And things like that one don't really play to the game because they hurt you a lot. And, oh no, I'm thinking of Midnight Reaper hurts you a lot, but the 3/2 is fine, it's the Morph one, right? That you're talking about? Yeah. But I didn't, I find that I'm never short on cards with this deck.
Okay.
I rarely am short on cards. Things like Morbid Opportunist, this card normally seems kind of because it's just when it only triggers once per turn, but because this deck works on everybody's turn cycle, you basically are drawing 4 cards per turn cycle, plus your draw for turns. It's 5 cards to everybody's 1 without anything else happening. It's pretty strong.
I think the final version of this deck also stepped the power level up by putting a Bolas's Citadel in here.
I did, yeah. I found that Bolas's Citadel is really good when you're playing a bunch of really cheap creatures and stuff. Which is another reason I try to keep the CMCs lower. It was actually in my playing list that I played before.
I think it has to be in here.
This is the actual copy that I have, so I'll just leave it in there. If you don't know what Bolas's Citadel is, read it. It's amazing.
It wasn't a Bantu's Monument deck, was it?
It was not. No, unfortunately it's not. Let's see. Let me go through the list of things that I didn't get a chance to write down yet.
I wanted to show you this one, and then I don't think you probably hadn't seen before.
Sure.
The Golden Throne.
Let's take a look at it.
It's a 4-mana artifact. But if you lose the game, instead you exile it, and your life total becomes 1. And then it's tap, sack a creature, add 3 mana.
Yeah, it's definitely neat. I don't own one for sure, and I'll probably have to order a few cards for this deck. But
or borrow some.
Leave it for now. It's definitely a cool card. We can put it on the cut list if we feel we need to.
Yeah, I think like you were talking about the Soldevi Adonate, it made me think of this one, but obviously it's not a creature. It doesn't come back. It's 4 mana. It's kind of cute. I mean, a sack outlet that generates 3 mana only once, I don't think it's worth it.
It's probably not. Throw it in the considering for now. One of the things that I can say about this deck that you tend to lose games because you don't have enough of these dinky creatures. So you really want to max out, if you can, on having support pieces because it's very easy to attack the enchantments. It's very easy to attack the artifacts. It's very hard to attack the creatures. Even in a late game when you're paying, 7 or 9 or 11 mana for Shirei, you can continue to just chain 2 creatures for like a sack outlet creature and a value creature and still just take over a game because the value is so hard to keep up with. I once had a game where I think I was casting Shirei for 9 mana. I had a Mere Retriever and then the 3 mana 1/1 flyer that draws a card when it enters. It's one of the ones I have to put in here.
Pilgrim's Eye? Or...
I do have Pilgrim's Eye in here, which I think is a good one. That's the one that gets a basic land.
No, the other one.
The other Thopter.
The other Thopter.
Look it up here. I get the
Sky
Scanner.
Sky Scanner.
Yeah, nice. Again, creatures that just enter. These ones also fly, and they're artifacts. They're really good with Mere Retriever. Did I put the Dutiful Attendant in here? You see that? There it is.
There it is.
I got a few creatures in here like Cadaver Imp and Dutiful Attendant that when they die, Cadaver Imp is when it enters, you return a creature from your graveyard to your hand. Dutiful Attendant, when it dies, you do the same thing. They're helpful because sometimes Shirei does die, or one of your creatures dies in a way that you can't protect it, or sometimes you need your Bloodful Connoisseur to just be a 9/9 for a turn to block that big dumb thing they're swinging at you with, and then it dies and you bring it back. I also played Victimize in this.
Sure. There's a couple more spell things I wanted you to look at, too.
Sure, let's take a look.
The new one from Strixhaven that's good in this deck, Plumb the Forbidden.
Plumb the Forbidden. Let's check it out. Sounds familiar.
It's instant, 1 and a black, sack as many creatures. For each one you do, draw a card, lose a life.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one. It's fine. There's a lot of cards that do this. I really like the one that makes a treasure.
Yep. Deadly Dispute.
Yes, that one.
And then another one worth mentioning, maybe not worth keeping, would be the new one from Kamigawa that they printed, which was Reckoner's Bargain.
Similar concept.
Similar, yeah. Instant speed, sack an artifact or a creature, gain life, draw 2 cards.
Yeah, it's fine. I like drawing cards, and I'd rather play Reckoner's Bargain than Plumb the Forbidden, because... I mean, Plumb the Forbidden's nice because it's a spell way of sacking your things to instant speed, but I don't think I'd want to lose a big swath of life. Because, you know me, I'm the Treasonous Ogre guy. I'm super greedy. I'd sack everything and kill myself. Speaking of which, I was goldfishing Renzo today, and I paid 39 life with
Treasonous Ogre?
Treasonous Ogre, because I hadn't spent any life yet.
How do you feel about Rise of the Dreadmarn in here?
Rise of the Dreadmarn. Let's take a look. What is this? Creature spell?
It's a spell. It's an instant.
I like this card a lot. My problem with it is you only get to use it once, and that's not what this deck does.
Yeah.
You know, like you want repeatable effects. That's why the instants are hard, because like you need things that stick or are repeatable. It is a really sweet card though. Our buddy Jeff, he crushes us with this.
Yes.
He'll just put it out there and then he'll wrath and blow the board out and then be like, pay 1, get a huge amount of zombies and kill all you people.
Another like low to the ground fun one I saw here was you just play Meekstone in this deck.
I thought about playing Meekstone in this deck originally. I didn't have one, so I didn't put it in. But yeah, this deck is definitely a Meekstone deck. But I mean, if you're already cool with pissing your opponents off by making them discard their cards, how about their creatures with power greater than 2 can't untap? I'm a big fan of
Meekstone. Because like that's what this deck like. The idea with this deck is it usually builds resources because it's going to keep playing that the same creatures are coming back, and you're not investing mana to put them back. So I feel like what ends up happening is as soon as you get Shirei and a couple of creatures, and then if you untap again, you really don't need to invest a lot of mana into your board. Most of the things you're doing are low to the ground, and you're probably going to just like cast another rock. And you're just going to keep building mana with this deck too, so that if you do get blown out with Shirei, so like the two things that have like he just allows you to keep recasting Shirei to keep the engine going because you build mana.
Oh yeah.
And then if you, but the other way that this deck like loses is someone just like smacks you for 40. Like you get like whacked by some monster, you know, big thing because like you don't have as, unless you're going to add more death touch creatures.
This also brings up my next point of we need to add some actual spot removal to the deck.
Sure.
Actually, I'm kind of iffy on Tragic Slip. It's been in the deck. I've taken it out. It's been in the deck. I've taken it out. When it's good, it's great.
Yes, -13, -13.
And when it's bad, ooh, boy, is it bad. This is the prime example of floor and ceiling on a card. I'll throw it in here for now. Maybe find some better stuff. They've put in some really good removal, though, right? There's like 1 in a black, destroy a creature, take 2 damage or something, or lose 2 life.
Yeah.
That's way better than this deck's ever had.
Yeah, the new Infernal Grasp.
Yeah. We don't type that word very often. $2 must be good. Yeah, that one. Like, this is great removal for this deck.
Sure.
2 mana, kill something. Great. Move on with my life. And then I also played the one that destroyed a non-artifact creature, which is Go for the Throat. Technically, I never worried about Planeswalkers because usually you can just attack them if you have to.
Yeah. What was the...
This is all out of instance here.
Yeah, I mean, we'll cut it down. We're already at 106.
Yeah. Just want to make sure there's no other marquee cards that I
think like in black nowadays, you just have to play Feed the Swarm.
I don't have to do nothing.
I mean...
I don't like it as a sorcery, though. Like, it's so slow, and it's not that good.
No, but like...
Like, okay, destroy that creature
cool.
or destroy that enchantment.
Someone plays Rest in Peace. What do you do?
Just kill him. I'll just attack him to death. So I have a really cool mentality with Commander. If you play a piece that I can't beat, I'm just going to focus all my energies on you. I'm going to try to convince the table to kill you. Our buddy John, if he's listening, he knows I'm really good at doing this. He played a Hushbringer against a deck that I needed ETB and death triggers on. What was that? That was that weird black-white deck that I played with the counters and stuff. It was a fun deck. John played the one card that just killed my whole deck. So what I did was I just focused all of my energy on annihilating him. And it didn't matter what anybody else did to me because I couldn't. Just had to beat him first. It's true. You can be cold to things. A deck does, can be harmed by Graveyard Hate. Gets hurt really badly by Torpor Orb, which Feed the Swarm doesn't even handle. Not that too many people play Torpor Orb, but this is a casual deck, by the way.
It's about to be in the command zone.
Yeah, it won't be for long when I got all these removal spells.
All right, just saying.
Plus, they're gonna be able to cast it once I kill. You're playing that Torpor Orb in your command zone? Yeah, I'm gonna try to focus. Our whole table's gonna focus on you.
Here's some more little creatures that I forgot to mention that I just noticed a new category. Gnawing Vermin.
Gnawing Vermin. I don't know if I know this one. Sounds familiar, but Gnaw.
Where'd he go?
Enters the battlefield. Target player mills 2. When it dies, target creature you don't control gets -1/-1.
Yeah, not a counter. Not as good.
It's got the same problem that the Ghastly does.
All right, throw that one back. How about this one? Psychomancer. Psychoch.
Oh, yeah.
One word. Oh, we missed
Psychomancer. Psycho Man!
33 cents.
It's a good one. Flying 1/1. Whenever it or another non-token artifact you control is put in a graveyard from the battlefield or is put into exile from the battlefield, target opponent loses life and you gain a life. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's perfect for the deck. Great choice. And it flies, and it can block. Everything about that card.
I thought you would like that one.
I do like the. Here's one of my. I'll probably end up cutting it now because there's a lot better draw. But in the initial version of this deck, this is the reason that I built the deck. So I have this card called Mindless Automaton. It's pretty annoying. Annoyingly bad. Basically, it's a 4-mana 2/2 because it comes in with 2 counters. This is going to remove 2 counters from it to draw a card. And the reason I liked it was in artifacts, it's very easy to cast off all your. I played a lot of utility lands, but also it sacks itself by removing the 2 counters, and then you get to draw a card, and then it comes right back again. But the 4-mana cost is high, especially with the Bolas Citadel version. But we'll leave it there for now, just as a Well, posterity, I suppose. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything key here. That was from the original list.
This could be cool that I saw.
What's the one that makes treasures when creatures die? What's it called again?
You want the
one
pirate?
Yeah.
Pitiless Plunderer?
Pitiless Plunderer. Pitiless Plunderer. The reason this one makes sense to play with its heavy mana cost and its price tag of almost $12 is that every creature that dies is going to generate a free treasure. That's and it counts tokens too.
And this card just says, "Would you like to win the game with a combo?"
Yeah, and this is part of a combo finish with one of the sack outlet artifacts that makes mana and reassembling skeleton, and then you play it with any payoff like Zulaport Cutthroat.
Yeah, not enough zombies in the deck to justify a grave crawler.
But since it's sitting in the considering board right now, why don't we move this sweet new artwork of reassembling skeleton? Love this art, man. It's so cool. To the deck for now. We cut it, but I think it's super sweet.
I think this is a cool thing for the deck. Could work in an interesting way is Activated Sleeper.
Is the one that you can pay mana into it?
No. So it enters as a copy of any creature in a graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn.
Except it's Phyrexian. Huh. I have it enters a copy of any creature card in a graveyard. It's put there from the battlefield this turn.
So I thought it was interesting. It can do weird stuff because you can sacrifice your own thing, then play it and get that thing. You can do it on someone else's turn to get their thing. It's got a lot of like weird flexibility. I don't know what I think about it.
I don't think it plays with Shirei at all.
Well, I mean,
if you copy anything that's a 2-power or more, you won't get it back.
Right.
So that's the downside of it. It's really cool in that like it's a really neat card. I don't know if it plays well with the strategy.
Yeah.
Like because the timing on that's even more complex now, where you have to like, okay, if I want to play this thing, I have to sacrifice something now before it to play it to just get a copy of it, which is 3 mana, which is copying most of like just junky smaller things.
Sure.
So I can see it like being a neat card, but I don't think it fits this particular build.
Okay.
At least not the engine style of it. It's a really cool card, though. I can definitely, you know me, I like stuff like that. I could probably find good ways to abuse that, and maybe, I don't know, Grenzo? That's put in the graveyard from the battlefield? Ah, darn.
It's also a big Hulk card now.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
You know?
Can't play green in this, darn it. Green is so good.
Was there anything else that you wanted that, like, entered and drew a card? Did you want more of those? Did you want more... Was there more of those in the original list?
If you could find more... Oh, I wanted to talk about putting in Living Death. I would like a way to get the creatures back if Shirei does die.
That makes sense.
I would like to find a way to return creatures back to the battlefield.
There's a bunch.
Living Death is my favorite. I'm going to put it in here as a placeholder for now. Anybody who's played against me knows that this is one of the best cards in all of Commander, and it always blows everybody out because it's stupid. Basically what you do is you just sack your whole board, and then you cast Living Death, and everybody loses.
Yes.
It's really powerful.
This is also... I know we said Tormod was kind of tough. I think if you pull Tormod, the other real consider for this deck is just Sir Conrad.
Yeah, Sir Conrad is it's a very powerful card. I won't deny. It was in my list for a little while before I cut it. We ended up cutting it originally because of Bolas's Citadel.
Yeah. Because
it turns out that getting Bolas's Citadel with a bunch of dinky, junky creatures is really good. And then also, what's the name of that creature? There's a 1-mana creature in this deck that whenever a creature dies, you gain a life. And it is very, very powerful in this deck.
Alright, well then give her Sir Conrad, give her to Tormod, because they're not staying around.
What the heck is the name of that
We're
creature?
already at 113.
Yeah, we're
already an hour in.
Death Greeter. There he is.
He's in there.
Whenever another creature is put into a graveyard from play, you may gain a life. It's Death's soul sister, soul brother, right? It's a soul brother.
Sure.
But it also counts your opponent's stuff too, which is really sweet. So if you're killing their things, what'd you find? I didn't forget those. I was gonna ask if you think they belong.
Serrated Scorpion.
Yeah, and there's the cat too.
The Cauldron Familiar.
Yeah, Cauldron Familiar.
I mean, they were so key in this deck's success in the early days. Do you think they've been outclassed?
I don't know. This is what we're discussing, you know. So Serrated Scorpion, 1 black, 1/2. When it dies, each opponent takes 2 and you gain 2. Really good every cycle where you're draining for 8.
I think that stays,
Pretty
and I think
powerful.
the Shambling Ghast right next to it goes.
Definitely, I think move the Shambling Vent over here.
And then the Cauldron Familiar makes food too, right?
No,
you have to have the food?
You have to have food. It works with Witch's Oven, but you can only. The reason I never played it in the deck is because the Witch's Oven, you can have to tap it to activate it, and you only get the 1 food the 1 time.
Yeah.
But the thing about Cauldron Familiar is I don't care about the food concept because it just enters and drains for 1, in which case every cycle it's going to be 4. But I think the Serrated Scorpion kind of already fulfills that role.
Yeah.
And I don't think the 1 is as good as the 2.
Was this did you have a blood pet in this deck originally?
At times I did. I found that it's not very good.
Not as good as the ones that leave behind a treasure.
Treasure's just better. Surprise, surprise.
Did you play a Bastion or Remembrance in this deck before?
I don't know that card, so let's take a look.
That's the Blood Artist on an enchantment that makes a deuter when it comes in.
Oh, yeah. I had, again, not a creature, so I didn't do it. But it is a good card. I mean, it's definitely worth considering. If you got that instead of Sir Conrad, I think Sir Conrad probably gets to come out, too. Just because, self-milling in this isn't very good. But this card just oh, you have a ton of black mana?
Right. And
Everybody drain a whole bunch.
was Gary in this deck?
Gary was in this deck, yeah. Even though he doesn't work with Shirei, there were a lot of ways to get him back. So, for those of you who don't know, Gary is Green Merchant of Asphodel, 3 black, black, 2/4.
Everybody knows who Gary is.
You'd be surprised. A lot of people in Commander probably haven't seen that card. I mean it. I don't see it often played in Commander. It was definitely a standard mainstay, though.
Come on.
Do you think this deck needs a Green Merchant these days? Green Merchant is sweet because you just gain so much life off of it. But it is 5 mana. Oh, we cut it for the Bolts of Citadel. That's right. Originally. Ugh,
Yeah.
what is this art? Get this art out of here. Yeah, there he is. Where's Theros?
Oh, was this
Love that color scheme on that.
was this a Weapon Craft Enthusiast deck?
Weaponcraft Enthusiast. I can't remember the name of that card. Sounds familiar.
That's the one that comes in and makes the servos? That one.
Yeah, it is. I just forgot to put it in when
Yeah.
I was typing it up. Yeah, 100%. This thing makes 2 bodies when it enters. So that's just better because any extra creatures are good with the altars. And then also with any sack outlet, a lot of times with this deck you don't win because you combo off or you don't win because you've outvalued. It's because you just Blood Artist or Zulaport Cutthroat the entire table down by just value sacking so often. The Pitiless Plunderer, though, I have never actually played in this deck, and I'll be very excited to try it. Because mine is in my Grenzo deck.
Is Pawn of Ulamog also kind of worth being in there then?
Being a 2/2, it's the only hard part. And it costs... I mean, it's 3 mana. It's not bad. It's a good card. I think I'm ready to start making cuts, though. We're at 115. It's 9:30 already.
Okay.
I don't know. Let me review my list one last time. You review yours. We'll see if there's anything egregiously obvious that we missed. And then I had Mesmeric Fiend on my list, but I don't think that's really what we want to be doing.
I think the other one I had that's similar to Plumb the Forbidden but has less life loss, but maybe different, would be Body Count.
Let's check it out. Body count. 88 cents. Who can afford that? Spectacle. Draw a card for each creature that died under your control this turn. Yeah, it's in the same vein. It's a good card. It's a sweet card.
Very similar.
Actually, that's... Hold on. What's the other one that we had?
Plumb the Forbidden.
No, the Plumb the Forbidden. So this one causes you to lose life.
Right.
Wait, no, Rise of the Dreadmart is what this one
But
does, right?
Plumb the Forbidden lets you sack them to Plumb the Forbidden. This one you have to have a way to for them to die already.
Yeah, and the only way the Spectacle works is if they've taken damage or lost life that turn. So, I mean, it's easy enough to do, but I don't think this is the way that I'd like to go with it.
Okay.
Really cool card, though. It must be a newer Commander one.
It's from the
New
New Capenna Commander set, yeah.
Very Miss anything here?
There is a 2-mana indestructible instant spell that we didn't mention that has cycling if you want to replace one of the other ones. The one with the upside to potentially draw you a card if you have a counter, but we don't really have that in this deck.
Yeah.
It's a without weakness.
$0.03. I guess that illustrates how good it is. Oh yeah, I remember this one. It's all right. I'm not big on paying twice as much for the same thing, you know. But the fact that it does have cycling is nice. Although, like, that's always going to come up. I'm probably never going to cycle, you know. I'm always going to hang on to it to try to protect Shirei or my next one that comes in.
Sure.
So, move it over, though, for sure. It's a cool card. There was a card that was on my mind here. Oh, yeah, okay. So, Unearth was a card I was thinking of for the similar reason.
Sure.
But the other one was Mausoleum Secrets.
Okay.
You know this one?
Yep.
I don't think I'm going to play it, but it's 88 cents and it's an instant speed tutor to your hand.
I understand.
Search your library for a black card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of creatures in your graveyard. Reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle your library. Alright. Looks.
I'm going to start doing
Any
some
more
cuts.
2 and 3 mana Blood Artist effects that are on creatures? I think the next one's 4 mana, right? The 40k commander stuff. I haven't.
Is that
reviewed
Falcon
it.
Wrath? No, that's...
Yeah, Falcon Wrath. The
Noble.
2/2 flyer does it. There's a vampire that does it. It's a 2/3 that deals damage, not just loss of life. And then there's like Sir Conrad. Yeah.
And then there's Meat Hook Massacre.
Meat Hook, yeah. No biggie. We're gonna level them just fine with this. I don't think the deck needs Big Game Hunter anymore.
Okay.
Especially with the better removal spells. Don't get me wrong. It's cool, because if you discard it, you can madness it for 1. You don't have too many cards in your hand, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, the other one you can play is, you can play Agent of the Iron Throne.
That is the background one?
Yeah, but if you're not playing Bastion of Remembrance, I don't think you're playing that one.
This one says when an artifact goes too, right?
Yes.
Granted, most of our artifacts are going to be creatures anyway, but... Where's my enchantments? Down here. Commander creatures you own... Oh, no, I can't do that. Because it requires Shirei to be on the field. And I don't want to lose even harder. Another card that doesn't do anything, yeah. Protecting Shirei is real important. And then that makes it even harder to protect it, because you just, like, have a card that does nothing if Shirei's not out there.
What about instead of playing... instead of playing the... instant speed protection, what about a Cultist of the Absolute?
I would gladly pay 3 life to kill Shirei. I have no problem doing that. If my opponent has Shirei, I would pay 3 life every time.
Yeah, true.
Just because
I thought it was ward mana as well. It's just life.
It's just life. I mean, we'll take a look at it though. It's a neat card.
No, it's yeah.
Cults the Absolute. Commander creatures get 3/3 flying, death touch, ward, pay 3 life. Be your upkeep sack creature. Everything about this card is perfect for Shirei, except for the fact that it doesn't protect it enough.
Yeah, it's just not ward 3 life is not.
If it was like ward 30 life, yeah, I would snap play that. If it was ward like, what was it? 9 fingers is like ward like 9 life or something.
Something, yeah.
Like that is a really cool card. I love this new payoff to the Blightbound.
That's awesome. Good find.
Yeah. There's probably more. I just haven't found them yet. So yes. It's a sweet. Okay, probably not.
Not a creature.
Yeah. I'll leave this for now, because you can really blow people out with this card.
I've witnessed it.
Yeah.
Probably don't need a Meek Stone.
Nah, it's not necessary. It's just as I mean, they're not gonna have any creatures anyway. I'm gonna kill them all and make them sack them. And oh, by the way, just one last thing here. I'll move this to considering for those of you watching. This card here is one of my pet cards. It's one of the marquee cards of the deck. It's called Abyssal Gatekeeper. It says if it's put in a graveyard from play, each player sacrifices another creature. So basically, looping this every turn cycle means you're not gonna have a board state very quickly. You'll have plenty of bodies to sacrifice.
Did you have more than that one in previous iterations?
Nah.
Because you can't play all the other ones
three
aren't.
ones, yeah.
They're not.
Yeah, fleshbag variants aren't right for this deck, but and it's funny because this is like another 1/1 tribal style deck, similar to my best deck, but it's in black.
Very different strategy. Though.
Very different strategy. Ooh, I looked my best up on here. That'd be fun. Should we start at the top? See creatures that seem kind of eh.
Sure. I think the Canoptic Scarab Swarm is cool. Do you think it's good enough?
I think it's cool after I thought about the fact that you were right that I'd make them discard cards. A lot of these cards have already proven themselves in the deck. Pilgrim's Eye could probably go.
Yeah, sure.
I will say it's nice to always have a land to play every single time, but I think we can do better now that we're having a lot. Like the fact that we got even more ways to draw cards with this, and like the guy that makes treasures, it's just better. Let's take a look at the curve too. I want to see where we might be chunky in some areas here. Nope, looks great. Alrighty, I love this Psychomancer. What a good find. That's sweet. Do we play the combo? Leave the Piteous Plunder in there with Reassembling Skeleton?
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright. That's right, Scorpion's awesome. I think the creature package, I'm kind of iffy on these two just because of the mana costs.
Dump them. We need cuts.
Yeah, we do need cuts. Tormod's nice though because it is a payoff. Like if we're playing a 5-mana sorcery payoff, a 5-mana enchantment payoff, and open the graves, like is it reasonable to say we could play a creature payoff too? That we could potentially get back with like Victimize or Living Death?
That one's one or more, and the 5-mana one is not, correct?
Well, this is when they leave the graveyard. The 5-mana one is when they die. This is similar to the one that makes 1/1 flying bats.
Well, if you get blown out, the enchantment still gives you creatures when you sack them, and that does not. If the Shirei trigger goes on the stack and you get blown out, you get nothing off of Tormod, but you do off the other one.
Totally makes sense. And I don't think that I'm in the Vicious Battle Rager.
No, I just thought it was neat because it was
such a
1/5.
cool card.
Like, every turn, I'm like, I'm 100% attacking with this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And if you block it, you...
Let's leave it for now. I'd like to try it out. It's a really cool card. It competes with Thorn of the Black Rose, but I'm not taking that out because that card's just Monarch is bananas.
It has Death Touch.
It has Death Touch. Death Touch is so good.
I wish there was like if this creature died, like...
It's cool though. We'll hang on to it. We're not that far off.
I don't know. You are 11. We got very limited spots here, and you still have to fix some lands.
It's true. Next. That's a good point. A few minutes. So I'm okay pulling this because I rarely ever need to tutor for anything.
Yeah.
So that's an easy move.
The 2-mana protection spell. Do you want to get rid of the Oblivion's Hunger? Or do you want to keep that one?
Probably. We're using permanents to protect more, so that they're over and over protection as opposed to one-time use.
The Reckoner's Bargain wasn't that great.
Yeah, I mean it's good. It's not great.
Dispute's better.
Deadly Dispute's better just because it makes a treasure. But even that is fine enough to cut if we needed to. I don't mind having a little instant to just draw some cards with. Tragic Slip I'll probably cut too. Like I said, when
you're down to 2 pieces of removal.
Well, don't forget the creatures do remove 2.
But I feel like you had others that did.
Bone Shredder did it for a while, and then...
Bone Shredder and Abyssal Gatekeeper.
Abyssal Gatekeeper. Then you also make them discard, they don't attack you.
-1 counters with the Fume Splitter.
Yeah. Okay. I found that I never really had to worry about... Like, the big creatures are hard, but that's why the Madness guy was in here. Because he dealt with the big creatures really well. What's his name?
The Big Game Hunter.
Big Game Hunter. He was really good at dealing with the big stuff, and then the other stuff in the deck really is good at dealing with the small stuff.
You want to put him back in, put him back in.
He's always kind of underwhelming.
Okay.
I'm fine cutting it, because it's really hard to attack this deck outside of flying and huge tramplers. So, creature package is pretty sweet right now. Of those sorceries, Feed the Swarm is my least favorite, then Living Death, but those are both really good. This is probably easy enough to cut, but it's just so good. It's like a game-winning card, right? Like this, and this are all game-winning cards, basically.
Sure.
Victimize is just nice because it lets you buy back 2 important pieces if you need to. Also, you can let Shirei die and Victimize one of your janky things to get it back.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So I like that. Let's leave the instance for now. Kind of heavy in the artifacts. Let's take a look, see if there's anything that's...
You want the mask and the cloak still?
No, I think one or the other. Can be
They're
block
both
shroud,
5.
and this one is 1/2 and hexproof. What do you think's better? I guess I prefer the one that costs. It's easier to cast off a Soul Ring on turn 1. Just leave on the battlefield.
What do you? Is there anything that you're targeting Shirei with? The indestructible spells.
Oh, good point. Yeah. So let's move this one then, because we want the hexproof is just stronger in that situation. Boots is staying. Greaves is staying though, even though the Weatherlight's such a cool card. I want to try it out, but we need to make cuts. Let's see here. I'm okay taking the Blessing out.
Yeah.
It's a cool card, but I don't want to just leech my life down for no reason. And then, what's our total CMC here? Maybe we could shave a land. Could probably shave a land with 1.61.
Yeah. What are you at for rock count?
My rocks, let's see here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay. You're at 35. You do not want to not be able to cast Shirei.
Yeah, Shirei is real
You
plenty
need
out
to
there.
cast Shirei above curve.
Yeah. I don't think I want to cut any of these artifacts just yet. These are all pretty good. So let's leave those for now. Yeah, it's a bit of a hard one now. I'm okay cutting this. It doesn't play with the strategy. We already have Exsanguinate to do the big version of that.
Okay.
Lazotep has also been quite weak. The only reason I had it in there, and this is really neat, is every turn cycle you get to add to the token as opposed to making new tokens.
Yeah.
So you can actually make a big creature. But I found that it's very underwhelming. People attack into it, no problem, and stuff like that. So I have no problem with that considering. Even though I like, you know me, I love second life creatures. But these things like here, Cadaver Imp and Dutiful Attendant, they just pull so much weight in this deck. How many more? 3! 3's not bad.
Do you wanna? You could sort by CMC if you wanted to see.
Yeah, let's group by CMC here. And a value. Okay.
Is that not what you wanted?
I like no. I like all those 1-drops. I was reviewing what was in the 1-drops.
No, if you wanted, because you can also have them stay in the creature category.
Oh, I see.
So you can go back to where you were by type.
Sort by
and then
group by
sort
type.
by.
Yeah, all right.
Instead of by alphabetically by name, it'll be mana value inside the category.
Smart. This guy knows what he's doing.
So then you
those
can
are
go to
amazing.
the top of your curve and be like, what do I really want? Like, right now we got 5 4-drop creatures.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take the Battle Ranger out.
Yeah, it seems like the easiest to cut. The Death Touch is so much more relevant on the Thorn.
Yeah. You don't need Living Death to win. I've played decks where this is the win condition.
Sure.
And this definitely can be, but I don't think it's necessary. And then 5 CMC doesn't really...
Really?
It just doesn't jive with, like, Bolts of Citadel the same way. And also, like, you got to be in a pretty specific situation, and it's going to... it's a Wrath, though. Like, it's really good to have a Wrath. And moving back down, Weatherlight completed, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
It's really neat, but it just kind of sits out there and just kind of just accrues value as opposed to playing into the plan.
Yeah, you can't sack to it.
Yeah, that's another thing. All right, yeah, I'm okay moving that over. Cool card, though. Thank you for suggesting. Cool thing about decks like this is that I like to swap cards in and out a lot, so... One more, Steve. We could do this. What's the CMC look like now? The curve look like now? 1.54. I don't want to shave a land, but... Oh, I did take Pilgrim's Eye out, though, so my ability to get lands is less now. And, yeah, I don't know. These are all pretty good. It's probably just this one.
Yeah.
It's like the...
Like
So it's a one-time use. You get a little out of it. Like, it replaces itself. So basically, you pay 1 to draw 1 card.
Sure.
Because it costs 2, you get 1 back. Yeah. Okay, I'm cool with that. I'm going to do some lands real quick, and we'll call it quits.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think the most important land in this deck is Westphal Abbey.
Oh, how you know me.
I have lost to Rich more times because I forgot this card was on the battlefield.
I don't hide it. It's just good.
It's not that you know. I just...
Yeah.
You're like, you played it on turn 1 or something, and I wasn't... And then I'm like, all right, I got this game in the bag. I alpha striked out that person, this person. Rich has got, like, nothing left. Oh, wait, on your end step. Here's Armandal.
So one...
God damn it.
It is a mana dump, so it lets you generate 1/1 tokens, but for any of you who haven't seen this card yet, because it is... I'm not saying it's obscure, but it's definitely less played, I think.
Sure.
West Philadelphia is one of my favorite win conditions in all the Magic. So taps add a colorless, but you can pay 5 and a life to make a 1/1. But then you can pay 5 tap and sack 5 creatures, which is good for the game plan. And then you flip it, and it turns into this honking giant demon with flying, lifelink, indestructible, and haste. 9/7. And if you get a Boots or a Greaves on this, it's very, very hard to kill.
Yes.
It can be Swords, it can be Pathed. Swords is fine because you gain 9 life, so you're still back in the game. But this thing on its own will like I've raced to it and then just won a game with it just by attacking people because it's an 18-point life swing.
Yeah.
You hit them for 9, you gain 9. That is an incredible amount of life. Great suggestion, buddy. It's almost like you've seen that card before.
It's almost like I know how this deck works.
I do miss playing it. I can't wait to put it back together. I love this Dark Privilege, and the Blight Mountain is such a cool ad.
What else do you want for lands in here?
So, like, I'm not playing Expedition map because I don't really want to, so I don't think, like, playing Urborg Coffers is the way to go. I mean, you can. If you got them, put them in. Go nuts, you know? It's just not my style. I am okay playing the other Cabal land, though.
Cabal Stronghold?
The Stronghold, because you do get swamps, you know? And it taps on its own, which is one of the things that I like about it. Versus the Coffers, which does not tap for any mana at all. If you don't, I mean, you understand.
Is this, and you just, nowadays you just play Takanuma, because why not?
I don't really like it much in this deck.
No?
No, I like the one that gives fear, though.
Shizo? It's literally Shirei's homeland.
Yeah, Shizo's, is Shirei's, yes, the Death Storehouse.
He's the caretaker of Shizo. If you didn't put it in there, I feel like you just such a flavor fail.
It kind of it's also just a really good card. People underestimate the power of just like giving something fear until end of turn.
Do you want a high market?
I'm a iffy on high market. I don't think it's that good in this deck.
Do you want a Witch's Cottage?
Nah.
Do you want a?
I can be convinced.
Do you want a Reliquary Tower?
Yes, I do want a Reliquary Tower. You often have many cards that you don't want to... Like, I'm not big on, like, oh, we have to save all our cards, but this deck plays some pretty... a pretty low power level of cards. You want a high volume of them, so you do want to maintain them. Reliquary Tower, totally fine. I do think an Urborg would be reasonable, but I don't really want to spend $40 on Urborg just throwing this thing.
Yeah.
What other lands did you find here? I had a list of some lands that were interesting to me. Let's see here.
I'm not playing a Phyrexian Tower, $20.
Bajuka Bog, totally reasonable.
You don't want a Mortuary Mire. If you don't want a Witch's Cottage, you probably don't want a Mortuary Mire.
No, putting the creatures back on top isn't really my... Oh, Castle Lochthwain. Just, you know, it's free, basically.
You know, this isn't a mill deck, so you probably don't want the Crypt of the Agadim, or do you?
Oh, it just didn't show up. Crypt of Agadim is kind of one of those. It's hard to time right because you want to sacrifice your creatures like kind of after you've already done all your stuff.
Yeah.
So I would say no. I'm a big G-Coder fan. Everybody knows that. Who plays with me? It's the very fun, fair Strip Mine, in my opinion.
You still like it above the new one?
I don't really like the new one because you got to pay mana for it.
Reasonable.
Yeah. And I mean, both are fine. You can do either one you like. I just prefer Ghost Quarter. It's just kind of my... I think Strip Mines are very powerful and awesome, but I also think it gives you a little bit of bargaining power in a game to say, listen, that Cradle's got to go, but I'll still give you a forest. And just, you don't just lose on it.
Yep.
You know, and it's a land slot. Also, and people don't know this, you can use it on your own lands. Sometimes you just need a little fixing. You get stuck, and it turns into a fetch. It's not great. I wouldn't recommend it.
Not in a mono black deck, but, don't do that.
Well, you never know what people playing Commander. They might, like Terminus, put all your stuff back in the bottom of your library. Bang, free shuffle. You know? It's not. I mean, it's not free, but it's close. I wasn't sure about Phyrexian Tower though. I don't know how expensive this card is.
$20.
I mean, cheaper than Urborg. Dracula's Tomb. I don't think I'm going to play it. I think it's totally right to play it in the deck. Oh, wow. That's a weird looking card. Hold on. Let's go back to the old days here and show you what this card's supposed to look like, according to me. No, I'm kidding. The list is fine here. The Ultimate Master is also very nice artwork on it as well. So this is just a Phyrexian Tower. Taps to add a colorless or tap sack a creature and add 2 black. That's very helpful. But I don't think I'm going to play it just because it's $27 and a fairly... budget's not really the main consideration, but it's a fairly modest costed deck.
Sure, we're at $141, and we're not even in the mode of where you do the choose cheapest.
Yeah, choose cheapest. Let's see here. I think that's Nykthos.
That will change the price of the deck.
It does, and I recently acquired one for Christmas from my amazing buddy here. Gave me one for my other deck. I can easily slot it into this. I'm not going to play it in this deck, but it is definitely worth playing if you're playing these X spells of Torment to Hailfire and Exsanguinate. Oftentimes you have just a huge amount of black pips, so Grey Merchant, Nykthos, great things to play for Devotion. I think that was the... Oh, one more. One last one. War Room. This is a great one in a monocolor deck.
Creeping up there, getting almost $5 now.
It's tap for add a colorless, tap 3, tap, pay a life equal to your colors of your commander, so 1 for this, draw a card. Similar to Castle Locthwain, and it's just a land that draws cards, and it's basically free to play because it enters untapped. It's likely that Castle Locthwain will enter untapped. So we're at 43 lands, we need to subtract 8 swamps, and I think we're done.
Awesome.
Remove... God, it's annoying.
You can remove them all and then add back however many you want.
Yeah, it seems easier. And we'll use a good artwork here, or an artwork that I prefer. All artworks are good to somebody.
You're such an apologist in this video, apparently.
I have strong opinions about artworks, and
you're allowed to have.
I just moved that swamp to considering, by the way. I'm considering a swamp for this deck instead of switching the printing. I mean, that's the deck in a nutshell, though. Like I think this is a great update to it. I really appreciate you suggesting this one. What are we at for Lancer? 9 from 35. We're looking at what, 26. 25 more. Did I math that wrong? I mathed that wrong.
It's okay.
Oh, because I didn't count the swamp that was already there. That's why. As part of the total. Hey, look at that. And I do prefer the revised to this 4th edition artwork they have, or 4th edition card here. But
you were gonna have to scroll for a million years.
I'm not actually gonna do that.
You can do
what I'm gonna do is
right hand corner, right here, here.
Instead of just filtering the sets, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick this lovely starter commander deck one, just because it's black border and doesn't look goofy next to the other cards.
Sure.
And that's Shirei. Came in at about 146. Oh, we can go with see how cheap we could get it. How we do that?
Upper left hand of the scroll up here. It's under the More tab. It will be update to cheapest.
Let's see how cheap we can get this. From 146 down to 141. That's not bad. That's about where many of my casual strong decks tend to hover in the 120 to 140 range.
Sure.
Obviously no fast mana in this, no tutors in this. Price stays a lot lower.
Yeah.
That's all I've got for today, though.
That's awesome.
All right. Let's rebuild this thing and bring it to Philly.
That sounds awesome. Hey, thank you everyone for joining us. I don't think we have anything necessarily planned specifically for next week.
Nothing yet.
If anybody checks the video out, maybe they got a deck they want to rebuild for Philly that they're thinking of bringing, want to come hang out and play it with us. You know, hit us up on Twitter, Instagram. If you got something you want to put together for yourself, maybe we'll work on your deck.
Yeah, reach out to us, you know, and if you're one of the people in our community too, if you ever want to come hang and do some stream with us, let us know.
All right, sounds good, guys. Have a great night.
Everybody be safe. I'm going to drain them all with this thing.